Who put the ball in the Burnley net? Who put the ball in the Burnley net? Who put the ball in the Burnley net? Half the fucking team did. Hello and welcome to the Arsenal BiteSize Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at ClaytonsAFC on Twitter, here to review another fucking demolition job. What this team is doing is not normal. And I know it's Burnley. I know they're probably going to get relegated. I know they're shit, but we are playing at a level that is not normal right now. Like to win away from home 5-0, 6-0, the level we're doing it at as well. We're not even getting out of second or third gear. Like this period of play that I've seen from us since the new year has been an absolute joke. Like this is the level that, the best City teams of the last few years when they just home game, and ironically we were away, but when they had home games, you're like, oh, it's going to be 4-5-0. They won't even get out of second gear. Like we're at that level now. And I know it's the type of teams we're playing are poor, but even though they're poor, most teams will only win like 2-1, 3-1. What we're doing is not normal at all. And it's an absolute pleasure to watch this team. Like the one thing I just want to say to everyone is just enjoy every game while we're playing like this and try not to get carried away. Like, I'm secretly getting carried away, but like in terms of just how I feel, just every game is a pleasure to watch with this team at the minute. And I'm stunned with how good we are. It just, you see some of the challenges we've gone through this season in terms of deep blocks and the tactical solutions to it, into like the way we're manipulating the forward lines, the movement between everyone. It's absolutely insane what we're doing. And I just think it's a case of like one game at a time up until that City game. But fuck me, it's hard to not get excited. It's really difficult. But yeah, I think for me, it's just a case of just try focus one game at a time, like try review each one as it goes and just enjoy it for what it is rather than trying to picture what it could be. But fuck me, we are unbelievable. I actually saw a stat. I don't know how accurate it was, but there's a guy on Twitter. He said supposedly this Arsenal team has only conceded 1.67 expected goals in the last 5 games. That's an absolute freak show. Like, as you can tell, I'm speechless. Like the combination we've got right now of suffocation, domination in the right areas, and the way we even win the ball back so high up, it's a cheat code, and I can't wait to see us tested on the biggest and best stage in the Champions League. Because, Burnley, West Ham are teams we should be beating comfortably, but I don't think many teams go and like do 6-0, 5-0, 5-0 against Palace, like on such a consistent basis. Even when we beat Liverpool, like we fucking fucked them. Like they didn't get a sniff against us. Um, Really, really encouraging signs at the minute. I think it's just a case of enjoy it for what it is. Arteta even said it in his post. Was it in his Burnley preview pod? Unless Arteta's got a burner account, I don't think he's podcasting. It was in his Burnley preview press conference, and he said, like when you lose, it's kind of good to kind of have that emotion and feeling for 24 to 48 hours, but when you win, it's almost a case of dust off onto the next one. So this is the level we're at now. And I think if it was a few years ago, we'd be milking these results for a few days. But we're at a level where we're serious now, and we're the fourth favourites for the Champions League for a reason, right? According to the bookmakers' odds. So we're a phenomenal, phenomenal team. And every Arsenal fan that understands football knows what's ahead of us for the next few years. I think a lot of opposition fans still are a little bit naive for what's to come, but that will come in due course. Let's enjoy it for what's happening in front of us right now. And obviously, these solo reviews, I tried to keep them short and sweet, just gone straight after the game. What I'll do, I'll just kind of give like a general summary before I kind of go. I think if I go general summary, then player by player, that will kind of cover the main talking points. And it was, I guess, starting with the lineup. So lineup came out, and it was like I predicted on the preview pod on Friday. I thought it'd be an unchanged 11. I just thought it would be a case of there was a lot of uncertainty around Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, and Jesus, Partey, Vieira. Are any of them actually going to make the match day squad for this game? So with that in mind, and I think with the Porto away game, as great as we're playing, and I do expect us to go there and win, you still can't be complacent. So I just thought it would be a case of kind of go with an unchanged 11 for this game, and then look to kind of rotate and flesh out the squad with Porto away and Newcastle at home, which should be 2 wins, but I don't think they'll be like easy compared to the last 2 games. So that was what my logic was, and yeah, it looks like it panned out. So it was the same unchanged 11, and just like seeing even on the bench, like Smith Rowe was back on there, and then you start to think about when Jesus gets back in the squad, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, Timber, Partey, Vieira. Like suddenly the squad is looking like it's coming together at the right period of the season, and even as a team, like the defensive platform has been there all season, but the offensive fluidity, even that, it's coming together at the right period. And you look at City of the past, right? Everyone talks about, oh, it's February onwards. That's when they go on their runs. Hello, everyone. It's February, and look at what Arsenal are doing. So I think it's one of those like we just need to kind of stay grounded, just keep our heads down, um, and just keep going. But everything looks like it's coming together to have a real good shot at the right time. So that's the most important thing. But yeah, looking at the actual game, I actually thought for the first few minutes it was a little bit sloppy. Can I say? Like that sounds incredibly harsh, but I'm just being honest in terms of what I remembered from the game. And I must say, I've not actually looked back at any highlights, rewatched anything. I've literally, as soon as the game was done, jumped straight on here and doing this. But yeah, first few minutes I thought was literally a bit cagey. And I'm being harsh there because it was literally we scored in the fucking fourth minute. But even that goal, once we kind of in that first 3 minutes, there were periods where it was a bit of a basketball match, and it was kind of old school Barclays. The ball was going up in the air. It was back to back tennis headers and stuff. But once we got the ball down and played, there were periods, even in that 4 minute spell, where you could see we had like a foothold on the game, and the goal was a result of that. I remember the ball went out to Martinelli, kind of beat his man quite nicely, cut it back to Odegaard. What a fucking finish! Like unbelievable finish. The precision on that, so good. And then Arteta recently has been talking about game state, right? And kind of going 1-0 up early and how that can dictate the state of the game. And you could see that as soon as we went 1-0 up, I felt like this game's done already, if I'm being honest. And the most interesting thing for me in this game, which speaks to the level of comfort I have watching this Arsenal team, for those of you that know me, you'll know when we score, I go fucking batshit. I don't know what it is. It's just it's a reaction from me. The level of comfort I have watching this Arsenal team, we scored, and I was just sat on the sofa chilling, like, yep, another postman's delivering vibes. And yeah, I was the same, by the way, for all of the goals. And the only goal I actually got up out of the sofa to celebrate was Havertz's one. I don't know what it is. There's something about seeing him do well with, I think, how much attention is on him that makes me feel really happy. So yeah, I'll come on to that anyway. But yeah, first goal, we go 1-0 up, and then we're laughing really. It was again like nice mature performance, I'd say. I wouldn't even say we were performing to our best in that first half. Once we went 1-0 up, I think there were periods where we were a little bit sloppy, but we were just doing the job in gear two because we had that sense of the game that they weren't going to do anything to us. Every time they got the ball, the way we hunted in packs and won the ball back in this game, and it's not just this game, we do it every game, but it still excites me every time I see it. Like the way this team is drilled to hunt all over the pitch, it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think a few of those individual things will come out when I go player by player. But in terms of just going through the general summary, yeah, first half, like I said, I thought we were kind of just playing the game out. We weren't really going for it per se, but then I think they were doing that in the knowledge that a second goal would come. And obviously, Trossard, I think there's going to be some debate on whether this was a penalty or not. In my opinion, it is a pen, but like it's quite soft. But anyway, Saka and Odegaard were doing their thing. Who's holding the ball? Who's going to take it? And Saka put it away. Trafford went the right way. Could have done better, but 2-0. And I'm just like, it's another chill day. I was just sat there eating my food. Like, what a chilled football club this is to watch. And yeah, I really think it shouldn't get downplayed. The level we're performing at is not normal. It's really not normal. I wish I had some like stats to back that up, but the level we're performing at is frightening. So anyway, we go into half time. We're 2-0 up. We're cruising. Come out after half time, and Saka pretty much scores. I think it was like 2 minutes after. And what a fucking goal. Like, I think was it Leeds away where he absolutely rifled one into the top corner with his right foot? It was deja vu for me watching that. And yeah, it was just another one. You can then hear the Arsenal fans singing the same song as West Ham, comparisons to West Ham. The players' names are doing the rounds, and it's just I'm jealous, but I'm very happy for every Arsenal fan that was at Turf Moor today, because that is such a great away day to just, having experienced it last week at the London Stadium, just going out and watching your team take the fucking piss. There's nothing better than it. So yeah, 3-0, we're cruising, and then about 20 minutes later, Trossard gets in on the act. Really nice finish, 4-0. And then we make wholesale changes. Nketiah, Nelson, and Cedric came on for Trossard, Saka, and Ben White. Really nice to be able to flex there, get the game won, flex the squad before Porto away and Newcastle at home. And then the fifth goal happens. And like I said, this was the one where, for whatever reason, I really leapt out of my sofa. And I think it's because the spotlight is on Havertz that I want to see him do well. You want to sing his song, and when you're saying he scores again, you actually want him to score, because right now he's not been. But I think his overall game's been really improving. I still got some, not concerns, but I think there's some things on the ball that I still don't think are quite to the level they should be. But I'll touch on that in a second when I go through player by player. But yeah, really nicely worked goal, like really smart throw in from Kivior. Havertz obviously megged the guy. A little bit fortunate, but then dispatched it nicely. And we're cruising. Then Jorginho comes on for Rice, and it was nice to see Smith Rowe get some minutes. But fuck me, just unbelievable. Looking at the stats as well. 2.42 expected goals to us, 0.26 Burnley. I'm using FOTMob here, by the way. We had 65% possession, and they didn't have a shot on target. Someone else tweeted me, well, before I jumped on this. In the last 3 games, Arsenal have conceded an XGOT of 0.20, and I have no fucking idea what that is. But the guy was he's a stats guy, and he basically said, like, that's absolutely insane. So I'm going to do some research after this on what that stat actually means. But for anyone that's listening and knows what it is, yeah, we're good. We are good at the football. So yeah, let me just go player by player. Raya, really, really good. He's really coming into his own and making this number one his. On the ball, he sets the tone. I really think he sets the tone, and like the way he offers himself up as a solution and build up, really good. He's starting to, when he captures the ball, like quite aggressively run to the box to look to release, which I quite like. He just looks like he feels he belongs now, whereas I think earlier in the season, obviously, he did make a couple of mistakes, and I think he let that get to him, to be honest. But yeah, I'm quite happy. Well, not quite. I'm very happy with how he's doing at the minute, and you can see the team are building a really nice rapport and relationship with him. So that's really good to see. Ben White, I fucking love this guy. Like, he has been one of my ever-present favorites since we signed him. I think it's just his consistency. Like, I used to always say Bakary Sagna was one of my favorite Arsenal players, because you always knew you were getting a 7 or an 8 out of 10 from him. And it's the same with White. Like, he had a little period where he wasn't at his best, but I think we all know he was kind of suffering with a little bit of an injury, potentially a bit burnt out, lack of versatility available with some of the injuries we had. Obviously, if Tomiyasu was fit, Ben White could have had a breather. But this guy, like, we saw it last week against West Ham, and the way he's inverting in midfield in some periods, and being a 2 next to. So when I say a 2, like offering himself as a second option next to Rice in some passages of play, and then when Odegaard comes into that double pivot, White will then organically drift out to the right. Like, his understanding, he's a coach's dream. And he's a warrior, he's a fighter, he's a shithouse, he's our shithouse. His stamina, his engine, his technical ability, he is so underrated. I fucking love the guy. I really, really love the guy. And I think he's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. So yeah, I'm really happy that he's had his Dubai rest. He topped up his tan, he's happy. So yeah, let's see if the weather's changing in England, so hopefully that gets the best out of Mr. Ben White. Saliba, I actually thought Saliba was really sloppy on the ball, especially in the first half. I think some of his decisions were a little bit wayward. Some of the the way he passed through the ball wasn't as clean, and I always think he aesthetically isn't. Even though his output is unbelievable in the sense of like his pass completion and the volume of passes and progressive passes he does, I always think aesthetically he looks a little bit gangly almost. And yeah, I thought he was a little bit sloppy with the ball today, but it didn't matter. We didn't need him. He was just there. Like when the ball went over the top, like as much as I'm saying he was sloppy on the ball, when the ball went over him in recovery duels, he was on it. Like foot race, he's winning it 9 times out of 10. And must give credit to Fofana actually, the Burnley striker. I thought he did well. I thought he gave our centre backs a challenge. And while I'm speaking about Burnley, obviously hope Aaron Ramsey's all right. I don't actually know what happened. I know there was a collision with Odegaard, but I don't actually know what the injury was. But it looked pretty bad, and I can't remember if he went off on a stretcher, but I remember the stretcher coming out and I saw him over like an oxygen tank, uh, oxygen thing. So yeah, hope he's all right. But going back to our phenomenal team, yeah, Saliba, I thought not his best game, but did the job, clean sheet. Gabriel, good, really good. I think there was a couple of times where Fofana was potentially getting the better of him, and he just clawed him back. He's like, "No, mate, I'm winning this." And on the topic of mate, hello, you fat prick in North London in Tottenham. Yeah, Gabriel, really, really good. It's nice to see him getting his flowers as well. He's really performing to like a borderline world class level recently. Really good. Kivior, really good performance. He a couple of like 1v1 duels, he was solid in the way he shepherded the ball out. You could see as well that like there are a couple of times I can't remember what passage of play it was, but I think there was one at the end where again he just like physically was strong and the way he shepherded the ball out and the way the Arsenal defense are like going and like yeah, you can see like the camaraderie is really, really good. And this is going to be a really tough team for the likes of Zinchenko, Tomiyasu to get back in, to be honest. So yeah, we've got some good options and good headaches ahead of us. One of my friends, Andrew, who usually watches this, actually he asked me the question like, "Are we better without Zinchenko at the minute?" And I want to talk about that at the end if I remember, because he made a good point about like the areas that Zinchenko operates and the knock-on impact that might be having on Havertz's ability to roam and what he was doing quite well today. So yeah, I'll touch on that at the end if I remember and have time. The midfield three, Declan Rice, he just did what he does, sweeping up, keeping it moving. Yeah, not much to say on him, but that's not like a yeah. I think it's just it was a we won 5-0 away from home for God's sake. Like not everyone is going to have the chance to uh, drop a masterclass. He did his job, and with him in that kind of engine room, you just him, Saliba, Gabriel. Every time the ball goes centrally, you just feel like yeah, they're gonna fucking murder you. Odegaard, this was a nice performance, really, really good. Especially the way happens every game, but the way he leads the press from the front. Really, really nice, and the way he kind of dictates to people where to go. And like I said, the biggest thing tactically that I really enjoyed in this game was the versatility in when we were building up, and it was either Rice and Odegaard or Rice and White. And what you could see was when it was Odegaard, White would push out wide, and then Kivior would adjust his position accordingly. And it's just like clockwork. It's such a joy to watch. And then there were periods when White would, it would be Odegaard as the trigger. You could always see it was when Odegaard would drift, White would come in, and then you'd see Saka on the wide right. When Odegaard would go central into the double pivot with Rice, Ben White would push out, and then Saka would kind of go in the half space, and it was so nice to watch. And like, I'm a real sado. I love those little automatic triggers and movements, and you can just see this football team is coached to an unbelievable standard. And yeah, I think the versatility that we're showing, which I think has come as a result of the kind of deep block issue, and for me, why are we doing this? I think one is obviously Zinchenko's not available, Tomiyasu's not available, so we're looking to flip the dynamics and invert from the right-hand side. Because I think when Kiwi has done it, he's not looked as natural in those kind of tight central areas, whereas White looks like a natural. I remember there was one period where someone punched the ball into him. He took it on the half turn. Granted, he lost the ball, but it was more the comfortability he showed when he turned on the half turn. So I thought that was really nice. But yeah, going back to the original point, I think when we've seen us struggle, and when I say struggle, I mean create high quality chances against deep blocks. I think what we're doing now is so clever because the positional rotation in the kind of first and middle phase forces people to come to you. And that's how, like I always say, when this Arsenal team has space, we will fucking murder you. But the problem was we weren't getting space. And I think it wasn't an Arsenal problem. I think any team that faces the deep blocks we've been facing will struggle to create high quality chances. And in my opinion, what Arteta done is absolutely genius in terms of dropping some of our technical players into like the middle phase to attract people out. And then that's what creates the space. And I don't think it's a coincidence. You see that in the last two games, White has sometimes been inverting, Odegaard sometimes in there, and then Saka pushes into the half space with White out wide. And that positional rotation, I haven't even spoke about Havertz and Trossard yet, but the rotation them two have got going on, it's confusing for teams. And I think it's a real smart, organic way to positionally shuffle teams around and create space for us. In my opinion, that's what we've been doing and why we've been doing it. And I think it's working a treat. And that segues nicely onto Havertz. Like some of the runs this guy is making is so smart and clever. I said earlier, I still think there's times when he gets on the ball where I think he should be doing a lot better. And I think his first touch can be pretty poor. I think his that's all I'll say. I think his first touch can be pretty poor, and I think that then has a knock-on impact on what he's able to do in the next sequence of actions. But his movement, fuck me, man. Especially with Trossard up top, the way those two move, and there are a few times where Havertz found himself in between. I can't remember if it was in between fullback and centre back, or literally in between the two centre backs. But he ran and he stretched them, and Odegaard was able to play the pass in. And I think this is what I'm loving seeing with this Arsenal team since the new year. We're in gear one, gear two, we're chilling, we're playing in the first and middle phase, and then bang, the way we accelerate and we see the space and we attack it and we're in behind. That's what we weren't seeing against the deep blocks. And I think this solution is a winner. I really do believe that. And I think Havertz is key to it. Hopefully he can keep getting into these positions, and hopefully if his touch improves and I think if his touch improves, then the next actions will naturally follow, and he'll get himself goal contributions. But yeah, really good performance from him, especially off the ball. And what I'm liking now, which I didn't see in the start of the season, was he's moving into zones a lot with a lot more purpose off the ball. Before I felt like, especially like August through to September time, August, September, and like parts of October, I felt like he was just kind of drifting in between zones, not really moving with purpose to create space and maintain our structure across zones. And I feel like he's doing that to a T right now. So really like that. Have I done all the midfield three? I have. So front three, Bukayo, mate. He's 22 years old. What was it Nima said on the Friday pod? He's something about like his goal contributions similar to Ronaldo at the same age or something, but this guy's consistency for his age is an absolute joke. And again, it's his decision making and the way he plays. He's barely out of gear three as well. And I remember there was a period where I can't remember specifically what time it was in the game, but the camera panned over to him and he was like not even blowing. It didn't look like he's breaking a sweat. And I think he's got this ability to just cruise at his own tempo and really dictate the course of a game because he has game-defining actions. He's phenomenal. And yeah, got him in my fantasy team, of course. So yeah, 2 clean sheets for me with Saliba and Gabriel, and excuse me, and the Bukayo Saka haul there as well. Trossard up top, it's working. I also thought and again, people may think I'm being harsh. I thought Trossard had a few poor decisions today. I thought he was dropping and interchanging with Havertz really nicely, but some of his selection of passing I thought was a little bit wayward. I think my mind's gone blank, but I want to say he had a really clear opportunity where he could have scored maybe, but I may have that wrong, so don't quote me on that. But overall, I like the impact he has on us from a fluidity perspective and what he gives the overall team. And he's again someone that he always pops up with goal contributions. And I said this even last season when Jesus was out. Stylistically, the closest profile we have to Gabriel Jesus as a false nine is Leandro Trossard, and I want to see it. I love what it does to the overall team. We're so much more fluid with it, and yeah, it's really good to see him performing right now, because there's been a few times where he'll come off the bench, have a great impact, get a starting 11 opportunity, and just not really take it. So yeah, this is really good to see. And like I said, I love the impact and the relationship he's building with Havertz, and I think it's having a knock-on impact on Martinelli on the left as well, because he's getting more space. And yeah, this it's quite bonkers that we've scored 10 goals in the last 2 games, and I'm not sure if Martinelli, yeah, obviously got. Did he get an assist for? Yeah, he got an assist for Odegaard. So I'm chatting nonsense, but like he's not really amongst it. But he's performing well, and I think the knock-on impact of what I spoke about in terms of the way we're building in the first and middle phases and that rotation between the double pivots, who goes into the half spaces and wide to keep the width. I think it's having a knock-on impact for Martinelli, because we're stretching teams and he's getting more space. He's able to run at people 1v1 more. I really think what we're doing tactically right now is absolutely outstanding. And I'm so excited to see what we can do for the rest of the season. I think for me, this season, if I had to break it into chunks, was we've looked as a unit and a structure defensively outstanding all season. We've just conceded, we've just conceded bozo mistakes. You iron that out and you add in the offensive fluidity, you get people back from injuries, and that's the recipe, right? Like that's all you can ask for in terms of controllable factors. We are not giving up chances as a structure and a system. Like what we're doing is a joke. Let me go through what since the new year. How many goals have we actually conceded? So we started, okay, FA Cup, granted we lost, but we played well in that game. Palace 5-0, Forest 2-1, Arsenal Liverpool 3-1, West Ham 6-0, Burnley 5-0. It's so encouraging, and I think for me it's been the biggest tactical tweak of the season. We showed elements of it against Wolves and Brighton, and then for whatever reason that fell off the face of the earth. But I even said this, that period in between Christmas and the New Year where we lost against West Ham, Fulham. I said I wasn't concerned, but I did think the outcome of dropping points would have a knock-on impact on the league. And to be honest, I still think we may fall short points total-wise in the league just because of the lack of wiggle room we've got based on prior events. But what I wasn't concerned about was the general narratives around Arsenal are bad and the finishing and this and that. And I just said at the time that was an insane patch of variance. And I actually said on a Planet FPL podcast, I can't remember what episode, but I actually said in the new year there'll be a stretch where Arsenal will absolutely go bonkers with positive variance with finishing, just because that's how it works. The way we play as a team and the amount of chances we create and how often we play in like and pin teams back, it's gonna vary, and there's going to be variance with the finishing levels. And I think that's really what we're seeing as well. Like we're outperforming our XG. Well, we did last week, we did today again, and that's not concerning because this is again the other thing I said. My only annoyance previously was the volume of high quality chances we were creating still wasn't to the level where you can offset potential variance. I think we're now creating enough where it shouldn't matter, because the volume of high quality chances we're creating is of that level. And I think this is really, really encouraging. It's just, like I said earlier in this episode, it is just a pleasure to watch this football team. And it's a pleasure to have Mikel Arteta as our manager because tactically he is one of the best in the world. And I'm so confident for the next few years where he's going to take us. Like I said, can't control what's going to happen this year, but fuck me, I'm enjoying it along the way. So I'll wrap up there. Just done half an hour. Yeah, let me know what you think. Obviously, these solo pods are a bit different, but they tend to get decent feedback, so always appreciate that. If you are watching on YouTube, we'd really appreciate it if you drop the stream a like, hit that subscribe button where had a brain fart there. The subscribers are trickling in quite nicely. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber to the channel, please consider hitting that button. It helps us, and hopefully you'll get more content that you enjoy. If you're listening back on audio, if you could give us a review on there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever platform you listen on, we'd appreciate that a huge amount. And it's actually important that you do that this week because it's going to be content galore from us. We're going to be doing a Porto preview, a Porto review, a Newcastle preview, a Newcastle review. So 4 pods in less than 6 days from us. Is my maths right correct there? No, it'll be 4 pods in 7 days. So yeah, any support always goes a long way. We're literally 2 mates that do this as a hobby, and we just wanted an excuse to talk about Arsenal in detail because we wind everyone up on Twitter. So here we are. But yeah, absolutely fucking phenomenal win. We're watching a super team unfold in front of us, and I know it's just Burnley, but again, it's the context of what we're doing it in. We're doing it consistently. We're doing it without getting out of gear 2 or gear 3. We're not giving up any chances. Even City are giving up chances against these perceived air quotes weaker teams. We're special. We are very special, and I hope we have something to show for it at the end of the season. But let's just enjoy it as we go, one game at a time. On to Porto on Wednesday. For anyone that's watching or listening to this and traveling out there, safe travels. Very jealous. Have some pastel donatas for me, and let's go and fucking make a statement in Europe. Up the Arsenal.